Everyone, me again, and welcome back to today's Year 4 English lesson. Today we're going to be looking at exploring possible plots. So before we begin, for this lesson to make sense, you need to have listened to the online story videos from Wednesday the 3rd of February onwards. So please make sure, before you do this work, that you go back and listen to the story, please. That will allow you then to have a bit of understanding about what goes on in the story of the Pied Piper, where it started, where it finishes, and also a bit of information about the Pied Piper as a character himself. So the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Today we're going to use the setting and the central character from the Pied Piper of Hamelin to develop our own storyline. So last week we did a bit of work on the actual setting. So what did Hamelin look like? Yesterday we did some work on the actual Pied Piper himself. So what is he like as a character, the sort of things that he does. And then what we're going to do is then try to tell our own story using this information. Now, we're not going to rewrite the original story, okay? We're going to write a brand new story. And we're going to use this to take the form of a possible sequel. So that's a story that comes after the Pied Piper. So you've got the story of the Pied Piper, and this is a story that happens afterwards, okay? So what happens next? So a few possible titles for such a story might be The Return of the Pied Piper, The Lost Flute, or Rodent's Revenge. So in this case here, I've chosen these or thought about these. The Return of the Pied Piper, he leaves and then he comes back again for some reason. The Lost Flute, the Pied Piper loses his flute, which has consequences for Hamelin. Or Rodent's Revenge, maybe the rats find their way back into Hamelin and he's called again to come and deal with it. I don't know yet. It was just a few ideas for possible titles. So what could happen after the rats have gone and the children have all been returned to Hamelin and everyone's happy with the Pied Piper again? Pause down and think about what could happen next. So for me, a few thoughts and ideas. So the lost flute. The Pied Piper loses his flute, causing the rats to return and overrun Hamelin again. He must travel to a cave with the help of the children to recover his flute. Okay, but things can go very, very wrong. The curse of Hamelin. The flute is taken from the Pied Piper and melted down, stopping him from ever luring the children out of town again. So they did it as a safety precaution. However, bad luck befalls Hamelin, and only the songs of the Pied Piper can change this. A new magical instrument must be found or made. Or the Pied Piper's revenge. The Pied Piper turns evil and he attempts to take control of the town using his music. The townsfolk need to find a way of stopping him, but without being captured by his enchanting musical spells. Now, these are just ideas. We don't have to use these. You might have a better idea, and if you do, please use that, okay? These are just general ideas as I'm playing around with a few thoughts of, we know what the story of the Pied Piper is. Well, what could happen next? If somebody was going to make a film about it, great, we've watched the Pied Piper. Well, somebody wants to make another film about it, so, well, where could we go next? What happens? So we need to know a little bit about the story that came before we can write the story that comes afterwards. So your task today is to use a plot idea sheet to explore possible storylines for a sequel to the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Create suitable titles for each possible storyline with a brief, I'm not talking paragraphs for this, brief notes about the key events. So I don't need lots of Alan Peake sentence types today. It's just what happens. This happens, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. So that you've got a structure of a story. Select your preferred storyline and map out about six key events, please, within your story, but make sure they're put in chronological order. Make sure they're in time order, okay? Your sheet looks like this. Mind map as much information and many possible story plots that you can have on that sheet. Good luck. See you tomorrow.